Today we are visiting Indian Echo Caverns in Central PA.
Good morning. We're at Indian Echo Caverns getting ready to tour the caves. Apparently we are actually standing on top of the cave now, so we're going to go underground and explore the cave. Okay, so we are here at Indian Echo Caverns and getting ready to start the tour. So we just got the tickets and apparently it's quite a long walk to the tour, so we're doing that now.
So if you are coming, be prepared to go down multiple flights of stairs. Now these are the same stairs you actually have to come back up on. They are quite steep and can be slippery even in the rain.
They're called the Susquehannocks. They live right across the Swatara Creek, right over here. The Swatara Creek flows around 5 miles down that way towards the Susquehanna River, which is the largest river in Pennsylvania. And it's also named after the south areas because we found various artifacts and such over on the opposite bank, and even a few up in our parking lot. However, we did not find any artifacts or cave paintings actually inside the caverns here, so we believe they just used it to store the food during the summers and nice and cool inside. Or if there were any artifacts inside, they're all taken out by early explorers, leaving none for us. Now, moving forward in history then to 1927, this is when our caverns property was first bought by our first owner, and his name was Bieber. Now, Bieber did around 2 years worth of work on our caverns, so we're putting in all the gravel we'll be walking on, as well as the lighting system inside, so we have him to thank for all of that. At the end of those years, though, it's 1929, this is actually when he opened up the caverns to commercialization. However, 1929 isn't really a great year to start business, mainly because the very next year is 1930. That started the Great Depression. And unfortunately, during that time, Bieber did not have enough money to keep the caverns up and running, so he ended up selling the property back to the bank. Now, a couple years after the Great Depression, though, 1942, is actually when our current owners came in and bought the property. They are the Swartz family, and the caverns has been in the possession since for 3 generations now. Now, once we head down the rest, it has 3 letters on it, I, E, and C. You guys know what those letters stand for?
Nope.
I'll give you a guess. I'll give you a hint, sorry. Where are you guys right now? Think specific.
We're in Hummelstown.
A little bit more specific.
Duh.
So those letters will stand for
Indian Echo Caverns is a limestone cave that is over 440 million years old. It was formed through the erosive properties of water, and as time progressed, geological forces led to an uplift of the surrounding limestone, eventually allowing more and more water to flow through the formation. As the water flowed, it began to create small crevices and then larger crevices, and over a series of millions of years, it created the caverns as they are today. The temperature inside the caverns is 52 degrees all year round. For 19 years, Indian Echo Cavern was the home of Amos Wilson, also known as the Pennsylvania Hermit. A tragedy in his life caused him to withdraw from human society and live out the remainder of his days in solace and solitude of the cave we are about to explore. Amos Wilson was born in Lebanon, Pennsylvania in 1774. His parents were of a middle-class income. Amos was their only son. They also had a daughter named Harriet. Amos was a skilled stonecutter and respected by all who knew him. He was a valuable support to his parents and a worthy contributor to society. Wilson had a sister, Harriet, who was 2 years younger than he was. She was virtuous and of a friendly disposition, educated and well-maintained with polite manners. Her name was Harriet Wilson. When had protection but did the exact opposite. This man was named Smith. He was from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Harriet's parents warned her against Smith, citing that she was falling in love too quickly and becoming more and more attached than she should be, as he had yet to make a formal commitment. Harriet sacrificed her virtue to her seducer, fully believing in his repeated promises of marriage, only to be left several months later with a fatherless newborn that she had birthed into the world. Shortly after this baby's first breath, Harriet aborted her child. The body of her newborn infant was found in a nearby grove. Harriet was charged with murder, by which the punishment was death. The citizens of the county petitioned the judge for a pardon, citing her former reputation to be of excellent character and her crime a moment of lapse in sound judgment. Her brother Amos led the petition in hopes of preventing her execution and preventing her parents the pain of seeing their only daughter hanged. Harriet went to trial and exhibited repentance and fortitude. While in prison, she entreated other young ladies to not fall into the hands of a similar fate by being too hasty to be loved. The trial lasted 11 hours. Her pardon was not issued at that time, despite many entreaties from the community. Amos was devastated beyond distraction. He still worked on her behalf to secure pardon. The day before the hanging, Harriet writes this letter to her brother. My dear brother, as the awful moment has nearly arrived in which the dreadful sentence of the law is to be executed upon me, I am confident that we shall meet no more in this world. Your failure to return yesterday at the hour you appointed satisfied me you have again been unsuccessful in your application for a pardon, and that you wish to be as far distant as possible from the distressing scene, which a numerous throng of unpitying spectators are already collecting to witness. My dear brother, I am happy to inform you that I am prepared to meet my fate and shall die penitent and in peace with the world. I trust that I have made my peace with God, in whose presence I must shortly appear. My dear brother, the most I now suffer is from the consciousness of the disgrace and misery that I have brought on you and my dear afflicted parents. Oh, may you endeavor in all your power to comfort them and to satisfy them that it is the will of the Almighty that their heavy afflictions in the decline of life may prove for their spiritual good. My dear brother, my last request is that you cherish religion and that you hereafter try in every way to promote it among your relatives and friends. It is this that will enable me to meet my fate with fortitude and resignation. I never thought in a former part of my life that it was possible for me to be so weaned from the earth and my dear relations, and that I could have been so content to go down to the chambers of the grave. Considerations of eternity, my dear brother, will restrain your fondness for the vain amusements of this life. It will satisfy you of the importance of adorning religion by a holy, exemplary, and blameless walk and conversation. It is in eternity, my dear brother, that we must expect again to meet. And it is and has been my constant prayer in prison that we may all meet there in happiness. Until then, I must bid you an affectionate farewell. Harriet Wilson. As the awful day of her execution dawned, Harriet took communion from the Reverend White and said goodbye to her parents and her friends. At 10:30 a.m., she was sent to the gallows. Within 5 minutes of her hanging, Amos appeared with a pardon from the governor. He arrived just in time to see her take her last breath and watch her hands collapse, surrendering the struggle. Amos retreated into the woods and discovered this cave where he lived for the next 19 years. His needs were few. He brought a table, a stool, a bed of straw, and a few cooking utensils. He rarely shaved, but kept his new habitation clean. He took up the hobby of reading and writing. He preferred religious books above all others. And as a Christian, he focused on obtaining treasures in heaven rather than running after the cares of this world. He intended his manuscripts to be published after he died, stating, "I have lived the life of my choice. I prefer being a recluse from the jars of a contending world and the mistrusts and jealousies of an ostentatious race who have already inflicted a wound that they can never heal." Amos Wilson died alone in his cave, with his manuscripts beside him. On October 13, 1821, the Harrisburg Intelligencer ran the following notice: "Died lately at his lonely hovel among the hills, 12 miles southeast from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Wilson, who for many years endeavored to be a solitary recluse from the society of men. His retirement was principally occasioned by the melancholy manner of the death of his sister, by which his reason was partially affected. He was observed frequently to be estranged, and one morning was found dead by a few of his neighbors who had left him the evening previously in good health." As with the case with his sister, the details and location of Wilson's burial remains unknown, although it is often assumed that he was buried somewhere on his friend's farm in Lower Swatara Township.
think about the cave?
It was wet.
It was very wet. How about you? What do you think about the cave?
What?
What do you think about the cave?
Cake.
What?
The cake.
You liked it? The part looks like a cake. How about you, Mr.
I
Adam?
eat the ice cream. No, don't do
What do you think about the cave?
I think I thought I could actually eat it. It was edible. Eat it.
And no, those icicles aren't edible.
I thought it was edible. Those aren't icicles.
What are they?
Stalactites.
Also on the property is a petting zoo, a small barn filled with chickens and peacocks, and a playground. Of course, you can stop by the visitors center and store before you leave as well. This is the original box that the explorers found in the cave. And these are the coins that they found.
Alright, so this here is your ticket then, because
Super mega bucket.
Wow, Guatemala. See that?
Guatemala.
Yeah.
Mega bucket. Russia. Super mega bucket.
I would highly recommend it. It is a fascinating tour, especially if you're into science and history. There was a man named Amos who actually lived in the cave, and that was probably the most fascinating story that he told. If you are coming, for us, that 52 degrees was not cold at all. What I do recommend, even in the summertime, is something to cover your head, whether it's a hat, a light hoodie, a little rain poncho, something, because it's kind of raining inside the cabin cavern at certain points. Also, wear appropriate shoes. I actually am dressed for the occasion. I have a dress on and I have shoes on, like actual dressy shoes. That did not work. My feet are actually soaked. The ground is wet. There are certain puddles in there that we had to actually just walk through. So yes, my feet are soaking wet. And the boys, they had on sneakers. Their feet are soaking wet as well. Otherwise, be prepared for the journey. It is about 45 minutes long. It is amazing. So definitely highly recommend Indian Echo Caverns.